Tonight, 4 of Victoria's highest profile ministers set to quit in a political bombshell. The CFA's toxic culture of bullying exposed in a shock report. A speed camera operator targeted in a cowardly attack. A serial conman caught out after using dating apps to scam women. Why Melbourne is sliding down the list of the world's most livable cities. And the D's desperate to hit back as the son of a Kangaroos legend prepares to debut.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. 4 of Victoria's most senior ministers are set to walk away from politics in a major blow for the Andrews government. Chanel Vella is covering the fallout from State Parliament. And Chanel, it's a mass exodus of experience 5 months before the election.
It certainly is a real worry for the state government. These 4 ministers are the ones we've seen and heard from right throughout the pandemic. They take with them decades of experience, and of course that's a real worry for the state government right now as they look for a new Deputy Premier and a new Health Minister. It's not yet official.
And I'm not going to speculate on my future or the future of my colleagues.
But after being front and centre of the Andrews Labor government, it's believed James Merlino, Lisa Neville, Martin Pakula and Martin Foley are all moving on. Deputy Premier James Merlino used question time to thank education staff.
Firstly, Speaker, I thank all school staff in every sector for their selflessness, professionalism and dedication over the past 2.5 years. Enjoy the term break, you have earned it again.
James has been a wonderful friend, a wonderful minister. He has a wonderful legacy to celebrate.
Police Minister Lisa Neville, who's battled Crohn's disease, used her speech to thank the force.
They've been in the community supporting the health response to the pandemic. We've also during this time been reminded, unfortunately, of how dangerous their jobs are, with 5 police officers' lives lost in the line of duty since 2020.
While the Minister for Sport, Major Events and Racing spoke about the vaccine program allowing Victoria to reopen.
It's why our pubs and restaurants can be once again operating at full tilt. It's why fans are back at the footy, and it's why the May races were so much fun.
Health Minister Martin Foley, who stepped into the role after Jenny Mikakos controversially resigned during the hotel quarantine inquiry, is likely to step away from Cabinet.
Well, Victoria looks like it's going to have its 4th health minister in 4 years. No wonder we have a crisis in the health system.
The Premier continued to bat away resignation questions today.
I dealt with those matters a couple of days ago and my answer has not changed.
An official announcement is expected tomorrow. Chanel Vella, 7 News.
A bombshell report is lifting the lid on a toxic culture inside Victoria's CFA. Blake Johnson has the details. And Blake, 1 in 4 members claim they've been bullied in the past year.
It's not a great review of the inner workings of the Country Fire Authority, Pete. The feedback from staff in this report features descriptions of, quote, derogatory language, backstabbing, gaslighting and intimidation, humiliation, corruption and disrespect. The CFA is found to be hypermasculine with homophobic elements. 1 in 10 people surveyed has experienced violence.
The CFA has a real opportunity to own the issues of the past, but more importantly, get on board, make those changes and really drive a change of culture for itself for many years to come.
The Independent report's 10 recommendations are full of corporate speak. For example, continue to improve the process for issues management and invest in best practice resource management systems. Essentially, they say the CFA needs to improve its corporate structure and internal problem resolution. The CFA has committed to all recommendations in a 5-year action plan. Pete?
Blake Johnson in the newsroom, thank you. A speed camera operator has been targeted in a cowardly attack on Victoria's Bellarine Peninsula. It's the latest in a spate of violent confrontations that's prompted calls for police to step in and take charge.
Front and back windscreens smashed and all its tyres slashed by a crazed enemy of speed cameras. A 65-year-old operator in the Nissan had been monitoring traffic on the Bellarine Highway at Point Lonsdale just before 9 last night when a man attacked.
Terrifying, absolutely terrifying to be sitting in a car doing your job in the dark and all of a sudden out of nowhere comes some lunatic who attacks you with a pole.
It's the fourth attack on a speed camera in 2 months. This man accused of one in nearby St Leonard's, also using a metal rod with spiked wood under its tyres, plus other incidents at Wollert and Tullamarine. The operators' union wants the private company in charge dumped and police to employ staff instead.
The police need to call the private contractor in and take the contract off them.
I just don't understand why anyone is attacking someone who's just going about doing their job. It's high-end criminal behaviour. We will not put up with it.
Despite 4 flat tyres and a smashed windscreen, the victim drove 2.5 kilometres to the local shopping strip to wait for help from colleagues and police.
The cars are full of cameras. It's the most ridiculous, stupidest thing to do because you'll be prosecuted.
Pretty pathetic, really. So if they're not going to stop anything, they'll still bring another car back.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
More than half of Melbourne's intensive care ambulances were offline last night. The union says 10 of the 17 Mica vans were out of action because of staff shortages.
A patient was having a heart attack in the outer suburbs of Melbourne. Advanced life support crew called for a Mica backup, but none was available because the nearest crew were actually in the city, probably around 60 kilometres away. So, yes, it absolutely puts lives at risk.
150 paramedics are currently off work due to COVID. A serial Casanova conman has admitted to fleecing thousands of dollars from women he met on dating apps. He used their phones to indulge in sports betting, often while they were in the same room.
3 Melbourne women had the misfortune of matching with Chris Collins online. Within hours of a first date, he convinced them he was a professional sports gambler and persuaded them to open betting accounts, bragging he had a sure bet. He took one woman to a Richmond pub and, while she danced, sat in the corner moving $72,000 of her savings into a Bet365 account, losing $20,000 by the end of the night. He later stole her credit card and used it to buy drinks at a city strip club. The local footballer and cricketer used aliases: CJ on Tinder, Happy on Bumble, and Ben from Brighton on Oasis. When one victim became sleepy, he held her phone to her face to unlock it, gambling away $14,000. Collins struck again while a date went to the toilet and left her phone on the table. He lost $8,500 of her money on a South Korean basketball game. Chris Collins conned these women less than a year after being released from prison for scamming 6 other dates. He's been ordered to pay his victims back and warned he could be locked up again. Jade Vincent, 7 News.
A hit-run victim remains in a stable condition in the Royal Melbourne Hospital as the hunt for the driver steps up. The 40-year-old was struck on Johnston Street in Abbotsford on Tuesday night, suffering head injuries and a fractured pelvis. Police are looking for the driver of a blue sedan. Hundreds of anti-vax Victorian teachers will be free to return to the classroom from tomorrow as triple-dose mandates are lifted. Under the new system, parents won't have the right to know whether their child's teacher is vaccinated.
2 months after unvaccinated teachers lost their jobs for refusing the jab, the vaccine mandate is about to be lifted in schools and childcare centres. With more than 99% of educators triple-dosed, health authorities say it's no longer necessary.
That's got to be one of the most vaccinated cohorts anywhere in the world. And I thank them very much for that.
We've just had a couple of hundred exactly who are either on leave at the moment because they haven't got the third dose or whose employment finished because they were 3 months without having achieved that third dose.
Out of 50,000 public school teachers, 280 didn't get a booster shot, 351 didn't get vaccinated at all. Next term, they're allowed to return to classrooms. Parents won't have the right to know their vaccination status.
I wouldn't have thought so. Your medical records, your health status is a matter for you as a matter of privacy.
The state government says the decision isn't related to teacher shortages.
COVID is still here. What we have to do is learn to live alongside it.
Private schools will make their own workplace rules.
If independent schools have a mandatory vaccination position, then yes, they're entitled to clarify the vaccination status for job applicants.
And the Catholic system also won't adopt the same blanket lifting of the mandate, leaving the decision to individual schools. Emma O'Sullivan, 7 News.
Soaring property prices are driving household wealth, according to the latest national accounts figures. Australians have accumulated a record $14.9 trillion in assets, with more than $173 billion added to the bottom line in the March quarter. An extra $305 billion has also been saved by households since the start of the pandemic. Logie winner Lisa Wilkinson has been urged by a judge not to make any further comments about Brittany Higgins. The TV star could still face contempt charges as a new date is set for the rape trial.
From Unreserved.
This interview and this story is by far the most important work I have ever done.
To taking a vow of silence. So much has changed for Lisa Wilkinson. Her interview with alleged rape victim Brittany Higgins won her a Logie, but not the praise of a Supreme Court judge forced to delay the trial of Bruce Lerman. His lawyer saying because the bushfire is still burning, in effect, we would like the trial to start at the commencement of the year next year. From the judge, 3 months is a significant period during which the attention to prejudicial issues fades in the minds of potential jurors.
It's certainly possible that the authorities will be looking at the speech that she made.
Ironically, barrister Dr Matthew Collins has now been hired to represent Wilkinson in the 10 network. The court was today given assurances the commentary will cease, mitigating Wilkinson's chances of being charged with contempt, which carries jail time. The prosecution now wants to prevent 5 other journalists from publishing books before the trial.
The Chief Justice said she had to rob Peter to pay Paul to accommodate this new trial date. Annual leave had to be sacrificed by court staff to ensure it would be ready to get underway on October 4th.
We'll be right. We'll see you in October.
Leonie Ryan, 7 News.
Overseas, the Taliban is appealing to the West for help in the wake of the deadliest earthquake in 2 decades in Afghanistan. A 6.1 magnitude quake, the death toll is beyond 1,000, with the UN predicting the country needs at least $15 million a day to cope. Locals have been left to conduct search and rescue missions with their bare hands. A major drug trafficking operation has been smashed, with police seizing $20 million worth of cocaine hidden in a jukebox. The ringleaders are facing life behind bars after one of the biggest recent drug busts in Victoria's history.
This is what 45 kilograms of cocaine looks like, with a street value of $20 million. It was smuggled into Victoria from Greece, hidden in a commercial jukebox.
This is a really significant result.
The cocaine is branded with LeBron James's famous number because traffickers claim it's the best.
LeBron 23 obviously refers to the basketball player, so I guess that's part of the sale pitch of these syndicates.
The alleged ringleaders of an Albanian organised crime syndicate now in handcuffs and behind bars, with police seizing a luxury car and a Harley-Davidson. 2 men have now been charged with serious drug offences and face the possibility of life behind bars.
There's a couple of people who thought they were living pretty well are now sitting in the remand centre.
Police say the 4-month joint operation will have a major impact on Melbourne's party scene.
This notion that it's a harmless party drug, they're putting themselves in contact with this dark side of the world for what they think is a party drug, just so they can sniff it off a toilet seat in a nightclub or off the back of the phone.
Police say today's breakthrough should be a warning to other traffickers that no matter how sophisticated their operation is, authorities will catch you.
You will come across our radar and we will target you.
Cassie Zervos, 7 News.
Victoria's former COVID commander, Jerome Weimar, has been appointed Chief Executive of the Organising Committee for the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The Games are being staged across regional Victoria. The 4-year contract had been advertised with a salary package of up to $490,000 a year. Melbourne has been named Australia's most livable city, coming in at number 10 on the world rankings. Sarah Jones has a breakdown of the figures, and Sarah, our health system is holding us back.
Mitch, Melbourne ranks well in many areas, but it's our healthcare system that's letting us down. We fought back against being one of the world's most locked down cities, but despite that, some Melburnians are leaving for the country. Culture, entertainment, infrastructure. 3 reasons why Melbourne has been judged Australia's most livable city.
Love the buildings, love the cafes.
The Victorian capital is the only Australian city in the top 10. Sydney is the second most livable city, followed by Brisbane, Adelaide and Perth, which has dropped to 32nd globally. But we've dropped from first, a position Melbourne occupied from 2011 to 2017, down to equal 10th, alongside Osaka. Austria's capital Vienna holds top billing this year.
We really need to keep building on those strengths.
Healthcare letting us down, especially during the pandemic.
We are in the medical industry. It was horrible. It felt like we were in a war zone. It didn't feel like we were in Melbourne.
For us to have gone through such a disrupted pandemic, to still be rated so highly is truly something for us all to be proud of.
Despite the city's high ranking, regional migration is at a 5-year high.
The net migration outflow from Melbourne is currently at 45%.
Regional cities like Geelong, Ballarat and Bendigo the most popular choice, especially amongst younger Victorians.
We know that they're looking for a more affordable lifestyle. We know that they're wanting to get away from the stress and anxiety of city living.
Sarah Jones, 7 News.
Melbourne's premiership defence is on shaky ground, and Tim Watts and the D's are desperate to get things back on track tonight.
They are, Mitch. Top spot is on the line for 2 footy heavyweights tonight. We'll get the latest ahead of a huge clash between the Demons and the Lions as the G turns pink for a very special cause. Melbourne celebrates the 18th year of its Pink Lady match. While it'll be an emotional night for Lions brothers Jared and Tom Berry, they lost their mum to breast cancer. Survivors and family members will form a guard of honour for the players tonight, with money raised going to the Breast Cancer Network Australia. Tonight sets up a September shaping round 2. Mitch Cleary has the key ins and outs for a bumper round 15.
Well, Tim, we'll start with massive news at Geelong. Patrick Dangerfield to miss yet another week with that lingering calf injury. All signs had pointed to him playing, but the club insists no fresh injury. He just needs more time at training. Max Holmes, Jack Henry and Gary Rowan are back. They face Richmond. Dustin Martin in after illness. Ross and Soldo return. Kane Lambert injured. At St Kilda, Bradley Hill out with personal matters. Jack Higgins has been dropped. Paddy Ryder rested for that massive trip to Sydney. Jack Steele is in. Cody Waitman named at the Bulldogs after his elbow injury, but there's no Lockie Hunter. Darcy Parish not covering in time with his calf injury at Essendon. Meantime, at North Melbourne, there's exciting news tonight. Jackson Archer, the son of the shin boner of the century, Glenn, will make his debut for the Roos. They shared an emotional call just moments ago.
I'm playing this weekend.
You're kidding?
No.
Hang on, mate. Sorry, something stuck in my throat. Oh, that's fantastic, mate. Well done.
Tim, it shapes as a massive round 15. No Patrick Dangerfield for the Cats.
Thanks, Mitch. And coming up shortly, Craig McRae defends the Pies' decision to let Jordan De Goey head to Bali. And one of footy's biggest power brokers has announced his replacement. Mitch, I'll see you again shortly.
OK, Tim, thanks very much indeed. A pedestrian has died in a Bayside collision with a cyclist. Rochelle Brown is in St Kilda.
Mitch, the tragedy cost a 57-year-old his life. I'll have the details live next on 7 News.
Also ahead, what supermarkets and growers are predicting on food supplies and prices. The new vaccine to protect babies. A Porsche in a police chase through a shopping centre car park. And later, why health funds are about to give cash back to members. A pedestrian has died after he was hit by a cyclist in St Kilda. Rochelle Brown is at the scene, and Rochelle, this happened on a busy bike path.
Mitch, the 57-year-old was crossing the road late at night when he was struck. The tragedy unfolded here at the corner of Park and Fitzroy Street around 11 p.m. on the 10th of June. The cyclist immediately stopped and attempted to help the pedestrian, but his injuries were too severe. The Balaclava man has spent the past 2 weeks fighting for his life, but has now died in hospital. Police are still searching for dashcam footage and are asking for any witnesses to come forward. Mitch?
Rochelle Brown at St Kilda, thank you. A home has been destroyed after flames ripped through the Altona North property. Authorities say the house was empty and are now treating the fire as suspicious.
From where I'd seen it, it just looked like this big orange ball of fire up in the air, quite high up in the sky.
Just a few hours later, firefighters put out a shop blaze further north in Deer Park, also believed to be suspicious. A Porsche stolen from Brisbane has turned up in a wild police chase just north of Newcastle. The car was driven through a Bunnings car park, followed by several patrol cars, after earlier being clocked at more than 200 kilometres per hour. The Porsche later hit a fence, with the 20-year-old driver arrested and charged with 11 offences. Fruit and vegetable prices are set to keep rising, with severe shortages likely to last right through winter. That's the stark message from supermarkets and farmers, with lettuce, herbs and green beans still in short supply.
It's where everything from cafes to cruise ships get their fresh produce, with the same battle for supply.
We could order 200 boxes of lettuce and end up with 10.
Leading to pricing pressure, menu workarounds.
Be patient. Be thankful you have something on the plate. I've never seen it this difficult in the last 10 years.
As Woolworths says, it will be weeks yet before all the gaps are filled. But more grapes should be on the shelves early next month, along with more broccoli and tomatoes. That by the end of July, supplies of iceberg lettuce and spinach should be recovering, along with zucchini, capsicum, kale and better quality and quantity of strawberries, blueberries and raspberries. But it won't be until August that we'll see good supply of green beans, cos lettuce and herbs.
At the moment, a lot of our growers still can't get onto their paddocks.
With the lack of backpackers, Ozveg wants the now scrapped agriculture visa to go ahead to ensure enough workers.
They can't find the labour they need to get it picked and packed.
Apple and cherry farmer Guy Gaeta argues to ease the squeeze, the big supermarkets need to cut their margins.
Last week at the markets, $4 a kilo, really nice tomatoes, and the chain stores are selling them around $10.40, $10.50 a kilo. And in 10 years' time, there's not going to be too many of us left.
Paul Caddock, 7 News.
Australian scientists are on the verge of a breakthrough developing a vaccine against a deadly virus harming unborn babies. CMV is the most common cause of birth defects in children, many mothers unaware of the risks.
It sustains immune response much longer than what we had expected.
The first human vaccine trials will begin in 2024. Now, with a look at the weather, Jane Bunn joins us. And Jane, it turned windy this afternoon.
It did, Mitch, and that means that even though today's top was higher than the past 2 days, it is feeling a bit colder. The city ranged from 12 to just over 16 under sheets of high cloud that let a bit of sunshine through, mainly in the middle of the day. As the wind strengthens, the feels-like temperature plummets. At sunset, if you were out and right in the wind, it felt as cold as 6 degrees. That wind picked up ahead of wet weather that is approaching. I'll have the full details on what this will do to us after sport, Mitch.
OK, thanks very much, Jane. We'll see you then. Airports are scrambling to head off a school holiday crush. Jodie Lee is tracking preparations.
Mitch, the airport says there is something travellers can do to cut the chaos. I'll have the details next on 7 News.
Also coming up, the official findings on what's really inside e-cigarettes. Divorce talks for billionaire Rupert Murdoch and actress Jerry Hall. And exclusive one-on-one with the Victorian hotshot set to crack the NBA.
The way I came through the NBA Academy and stuff, it just taught me to be a good person.
Melbourne Airport is scrambling to head off school holiday travel chaos, with passengers warned tomorrow will be one of the busiest days in more than 2 years. Jodie Lee has the latest from the airport. Jodie, authorities have a clear message for travellers.
Mitch, the advice is clear. Get here to the airport with enough time to check in for your flight, but don't arrive too early. At Easter, there were large crowds standing around waiting for the check-in counters to open, and the airport says that created further delays and chaos. Not a car space in sight at Melbourne Airport. The mass exodus out of town already underway before the school holidays begin tomorrow.
Just the chaos, I guess, that school holidays brings. So we tried a day early to see if we could avoid that.
We thought it'd be a bit easier just to sort of miss all the heavy duty traffic. We heard it was pretty hectic last time, so didn't want to have to obviously, go through that.
Here was easy and they made it quite simple for us, so that was the good part. It was just all leading up to today was difficult, but now we're here, we're going.
Believe it or not, this period will be even bigger than Easter, which traditionally Easter's a pretty big period.
In April, 1.7 million travellers passed through Melbourne Airport. But these winter school holidays, that number will blow out to 2.1 million people. It will be Melbourne Airport's busiest period for 2 years. As airports across the world struggle to cope with the global surge in travel, work is already underway in Melbourne to cope with the school holiday peak.
We're working really closely with airlines on their operations, making sure that we have really good bay planning, that the busier flights are the closest gates so that when people get through security, they're not having long walks.
The airport is asking passengers not to arrive too early for domestic or international flights. At Easter, large crowds were left waiting for check-in counters to open, creating further congestion and chaos.
We're saying 1 to 2 hours domestically, 2 to 3 hours internationally, but just be prepared to relax and come through the system.
And it will be that little bit easier to relax at Melbourne Airport from tomorrow when the mask mandate ends at midnight. Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Australia's highest-ranking health experts have delivered a scathing assessment of e-cigarettes. New findings show those who vape are even more likely to take up smoking rather than quit.
E-cigarettes are the next big health issue after COVID.
More than 200 chemicals have been associated with e-liquids. A group of construction workers has stopped a man on a stabbing rampage in Auckland. He stabbed 4 strangers before they cornered him and held him down with a crutch.
There were members of the public that acted with extreme bravery this morning. They apprehended this offender and brought this incident to its conclusion.
The 4 victims were injured in the attack and the suspect is in police custody. Media mogul Rupert Murdoch and American supermodel Jerry Hall are reportedly getting divorced. The New York Times reported the couple, who married in 2016, have decided to call it quits. This will be the 4th divorce for the Australian-born billionaire. He separated from former wife Wendy Deng in 2013 after 20 years of marriage. Bendigo's Dyson Daniels is on the verge of basketball superstardom. The 2-metre teenager is now widely tipped to be a top pick in tomorrow's NBA draft.
On the biggest stage in basketball, on the hunt to make a boyhood dream come true.
Back to Daniels! Dyson Daniels!
It all starts here, NBA Draft Week in New York City.
It's not even 10 o'clock in the morning and 6 teams have already called me.
In less than 24 hours, Dyson Daniels from Bendigo will have a new hometown, playing among the best.
And competing against LeBron James, he's one of the biggest names in the basketball world.
He's one of just 22 players in the country who'll take the stage when his name's selected for a team, standing 2 metres tall with a wingspan even wider.
On the floor, it's just about toughness, and I think Australian system and the way I came through the NBA Academy and stuff, it just taught me to be a good person. I think that takes you a really long way in basketball.
Dyson's family travelled from Australia for a night that'll launch his career.
We've all been behind him from day one. Just can't wait
just trying to keep it real, reminding him of the things when he comes home. It's still like wash the dishes, put the bins out.
In the coming hours, deals will be made, lives will be changed. And for Daniels, there's another prize in sight. That's chasing Olympic gold for Australia.
Playing for the Boomers is a huge honour, and I'm going to put my best foot forward and show that I can be a part of that team and hopefully represent my country, which will be huge for me.
In New York, Ashley Mullaney, 7 News.
Good luck, Dyson. Healesville Sanctuary has revealed its newest resident, a 6-month-old tree kangaroo named Ori. Keepers are keeping a close eye on the rare female joey.
In the next few months, she'll be exiting the pouch and exploring the world.
Ori will become part of an international breeding program to save the endangered species. Australia's health funds are set to pay back close to $2 million to their members. Details are next on 7 News. Also, the Mickleham quarantine camp set to provide emergency accommodation. Why Prince Charles is under pressure from the Queen. And is Robbie Williams set to entertain us at the MCG? Melbourne's new quarantine facility at Mickleham could soon be used to house refugees fleeing Afghanistan and Ukraine.
There's some active work being done at the moment to see whether Mickleham might well be the perfect place to provide those people with the resettlement that they need.
The $200 million centre was built by the Commonwealth and is run by Victorian authorities. The share market's finished slightly higher, but there's an ominous warning for shoppers. Here's finance editor Gemma Acton.
Thanks, Peter. Well, despite weakness on Wall Street, the ASX 200 added 20 points today to close at 6,528. Beaten up technology stocks were among today's best performers. The Aussie dollar continues to sink. It has now slipped below 69 US cents. While oil prices have steadied, that comes after steep falls overnight. And investment bankers at Barrenjoey asked non-food retailers by how much they expect to raise prices between now and Christmas. The majority expect to push through price increases of 5 to 10%, and 1 in 5 retailers say prices will go up by more than 10%. Unfortunately, none of the retailers expects flat or falling prices. Peter.
Gemma Acton reporting. Prince Charles is under pressure from the Queen, reportedly, to step up in the battle to maintain the Commonwealth. Charles has been sent to open the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda as royal insiders air concerns that countries like Australia may move to republics once he becomes king. Private health insurance customers are set to share in a COVID windfall of more than $1.5 billion. Some of our biggest funds are giving back cash because the pandemic stopped members from taking advantage of their extras.
Private health insurers emerged fighting fit from COVID-19. Last year, earnings more than doubled.
COVID's impacted a lot of us in different ways. And meant that some of our customers haven't been able to use the health services they typically do.
With funds under pressure not to profit from the pandemic, members are sharing in the spoils. At Medibank, up to $620 each for top-tier policyholders.
Private health insurance as a sector stepped up right from the start and committed to not profiting from COVID, given it was impacting a lot of people.
Australia's 5 biggest health funds are returning $1.6 billion to members through hardship support, deferred premium hikes and cash payouts. On average, Medibank members with extras-only policies will receive $28 and hospital and extras policies $123. NIB, it's $13.64. Bupa will hand back $28 or $110.
Now that we're back to some sort of normal, I would expect Australians to start claiming their extras benefits again, as well as, getting those elective surgeries.
Meaning, don't expect the current cash splash to be a regular thing.
One way funds are returning cash to members is by delaying premium increases. While CUA and HBF put through their increases as normal back in April, AIA has deferred its until September, Bupa until October, and HCF, Medibank and NIB as far out as November.
The stark differences in premium hikes show shopping around can save you real money.
With the end of financial year approaching, it's a good opportunity for a reset and to make sure that your coverage, both hospital and extras, has everything you need and nothing you don't.
Gemma Acton, 7 News.
The AFL is poised to sound out Robbie Williams as the headline act at this year's grand final. The pop superstar was in Melbourne just last week for a corporate performance at Crown Casino. 7 News understands the league has cooled on the idea of Bruce Springsteen because his fee was a little too high. Sport is next with Tim Watson inside the MCG ahead of a bumper clash to kick off a massive round 15, Tim.
It is, Mitch. Top spot is up for grabs here tonight between the Demons and the Lions in a potential grand final preview too. Coming up next, how the D's plan to shake things up as Joe Danaher takes us into the Lions' den. Plus, the Magpies coach has his say on Jordan De Goey's future. Also, we'll explain who is stepping into some of the biggest shoes in the footy world and why one of footy's toughest champions was brought to tears. Welcome back to the MCG, where Melbourne has flagged a potential change of tactics for tonight's blockbuster clash against the Lions. Returning to Mitch Cleary. Mitch, the final team sheets are in.
Tim, there's no late changes tonight. Top spot about to go on the line as the Demons try and arrest 3 straight losses. Stephen May is back from his suspension, but there's no Max Gawn. It's meant Sam Wiedemann has won a recall to partner Luke Jackson in the ruck. The Demons also talking about that different focus in attack.
Yeah, he's pretty unflappable, young man. Having said that, I'm sure he got some nerves. What we do know is that he's got some wonderful attributes to his game, his follow-up and contest game. What we're looking to do is perhaps, take the game on a little bit more, give our forwards a bit more chance.
Joe Danaher plays his second game back from his shoulder injury tonight for the Lions. Tonight is his first match on the MCG as a Brisbane forward.
Being a Brisbane player, we don't get the chance to come down and play on the G too often, but we know our Victorian fans really appreciate us being here, and they're going to come out tonight and really support us.
Another game back for you now after your injury. Eric's back. How do you find that the forward cohesion going?
Yeah, look, we're definitely a work in progress as a forward group. The seven or eight guys that are consistently up there, and we're just looking to improve right throughout this back half of the season. And
Tim, 1v2 here at the MCG tonight. It should be an absolute cracker.
You're right. Thanks, Mitch. Collingwood coach Craig McRae has defended the club's decision to let Jordan De Goey head to Bali for his mid-season break. McRae referenced a principle he took from Lee Matthews.
We'll treat you like men, and then you act like men. We treat you like boys, then you act like boys. Yep. I want all our players to feel there's a level of trust to make their own decisions. And some are going to make good ones, and some are going to make poor ones at times.
The Pies coach was asked if De Goey will be at the Magpies beyond
I really
this
do.
year.
For as long as I'm sitting in the chair as the coach of Collingwood, I want to make you a better person. So I can't help but think this week we've lost a few battles in terms of what we want to be, but I'm really determined to win the war on this and make our players better.
McRae says De Goey hasn't spoken to the playing group yet. A new addition at Arden Street has brought David Noble's future into sharper focus. Chief Football reporter Tom Brown has more. And Tom, big changes are already underway.
Tim, North's rebuild is under significant pressure, and highly experienced Jeff Walsh has been officially brought in today to provide a, quote, steady hand, unquote. The AFL was keen on this. The Kangaroos need Jeff Walsh's experience. He'll have a weekday role helping rebuild their recruiting department and assist with their football review, and a matchday role where clearly he'll help form an important opinion on Coach David Noble's progress.
Jackson Archer's selection had the shin boner of the century in tears.
I'm playing this weekend.
You're kidding?
No.
I'm getting stuck in my throat.
North bringing back an old shin boner, Jeff Walsh, to advise CEO Ben Amafio and the board. Ben Cunnington's return just weeks away after a second bout of testicular cancer. North flagging potential interest in Jordan De Goey.
We'll have a look at everyone, Tom, that can help us. I've always believed in that you don't shut yourself off to any option.
The Papal smoke has risen at Hawthorn. Jeff Kennett announcing the board's preferred successor as president. It's Peter Nankerville, the existing vice president, who's a prominent lawyer. And the Players Association has rejected Patrick Bynes' request to get just $800 in rehabilitation funded through the Injury and Hardship Fund. The former Eagle suffered a neck injury in 2019, which has required almost 20 operations and never played a game.
Past players, especially those that had to finish their career early, shouldn't be put in this position where they have to go with a begging bowl, to get funded.
How to fund past players' injuries is a hot debate. The fund can only afford medical costs for operations, not rehab. The Players Association worried the AFL and clubs are being let off the hook.
I think the issues we're dealing with the past players are becoming more complex, so I think it's time now to not look back but actually look forward and see how we can work together to do more for those past players.
Tom Brown, 7 News.
Finally to tennis, and Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic have ramped up their preparations for Wimbledon. Nadal shook off a chronic foot injury to defeat Stan Wawrinka in an exhibition match. Djokovic also claimed a win over rising star Felix Auger-Aliassime in his first time on grass this year. Wimbledon gets underway on Monday. This game gets underway shortly. Mitch, looking forward to it. It's going to be a great contest.
Should be great. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Jane is next with the forecast. Jane, what can we expect tomorrow?
Well, Mitch, you want the umbrella at first, but get ready for sunshine to return later. The full details are next.
Hello, tonight on the latest from 7 News, you've heard of inflation, but what about stagflation? What is it and could it happen here? Gemma Acton explains, plus how the mining sector failed to protect women, all the fallout from a damning new report, and Australia's most livable city, does it deserve the title? That's tonight on the latest from 7 News.
Hello again. The wind has picked up, so it feels colder than it actually is outside. The city reached 16.4 today. Still up on 15 now, but if you're sitting in the southern stand at the MCG, the northerly wind will feel a lot colder than that. We've had high cloud overhead today, while north of the border, you can really see the difference with low cloud there, covering the nearby hills, and drizzly light rain that makes it quite wintry here near Mount Buller. Temperatures from Bendigo to Wodonga weren't as low as yesterday, but in the Mallee, where the cloud was more patchy, it reached a top of 19 degrees. In the southwest, all dry for now, but rain will develop there later tonight. A large high-pressure system is angled just so that our winds are northwesterly, bringing that drizzly low cloud north of the ranges. There is a big cold front that is set to cross through Victoria overnight and tomorrow, weakening as it does thanks to that high being in the way. So the band of rain crosses the southwest later tonight and it continues moving through the rest overnight and tomorrow. It weakens over the northwest of the state and the far southeast as it turns to snow only on the higher peaks. That means the Mallee and East Gippsland won't see much from this one. The rest set for 5 to 10 millimetres, grading to 10 to 20 for areas exposed to a southwesterly airflow, all in through here. Most take a break on Saturday, but there's more drizzle on the northern slopes and over the southwest. Then another cold front on Sunday. This one doesn't really move through the north, but may bring a little to East Gippsland. Up in the Alps, Sunday is the next day for fresh snow. A sunny break early next week to enjoy it, and then the potential for good snowfalls from Wednesday onwards. Around the nation tomorrow is sunshine for Sydney. Adelaide is looking showery, dry in Perth, and sunny in Brisbane. To Victoria, strong winds only damaging at the highest peaks in through here, easing in the morning. We've got showers widespread from the southwest up into the northeast, and not really reaching the Mallee or East Gippsland. Snow above around 16 to 1700 metres. Closer in, wet overnight as that cold front passes through. All of these showers continue into the morning and in the outer east, possibly early afternoon tomorrow. Otherwise, sunshine does return and the winds ease after that cold front whips through during the morning. The city is wet at first, lots of showers passing through, but it should clear to a fair bit of bright sunshine in the afternoon, then it reaches 16. To the 8-day outlook, Saturday looks good. Sunday, not so much. Lots of showers passing through, particularly on Sunday morning. Temperatures really lower, and I hope you like 13, as we've got a lot of that next week. Cold starts at first, then lots of showers from Wednesday onwards. 16 tomorrow once the sun comes out in the afternoon. But before that, there's lots of showers overnight and in the morning, Mitch.
All right then, thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Thursday, the 23rd of June. Thanks for your company. Stay with us as we take you to the MCG for the top of the ladder clash between the Demons and the Lions. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.